Welcome back, and we have Tim Alexander back, and Tim, of course, will be at the top of the hour as well. Tim, you picked up that nasty flu going around, and it's really ripping through the country. By the way, there's 2 new waves of a SARS-like organism now that's starting in Asia. Yeah. There also is evidence that the
human transmission.
Yeah, there also is evidence that we're now having an explosion of some early, very extremely lethal cases of the avian flu. Now, if the avian flu ever acquires the receptor binding domain to spread quickly, we're not talking about a 5 or 10% mortality rate or 2% or 3%, which is what we have now. We're talking about maybe 50% to 70% plus. And the problem is there's a long incubation period, so you can literally get on an airliner, be perfectly well, cough a little bit on the back of the plane, the air is circulating everywhere. In fact, if you're on a large airliner like a Dreamliner or Airbus A380 where there's 700 or 800 passengers, everyone's infected. And they don't know it, but 3 or 4 or 5 days later they start to feel unwell, and 6 or 7 days later they're in respiratory failure. Some of them are on a ventilator or dying.
What we're talking about is advanced biological warfare.
And I've stated this before, that we're not going to go into martial law with a gun to our head. I mean, and I work with the Federal Center guys in Denver, is that bioweapons are number 1 on the list of the government change agents for inside America.
You and I have talked about this many times.
The reason is the United Nations and the World Health Organization have plotted and planned that when there is a, quote, swine or avian flu pandemic, and we're talking about a real lethal one, it's all pre-planned. It's all the treaties have been signed back in 2006. It was finalized with every country on earth, that the World Health Organization, the United Nations, takes over everybody's military and everybody's health distribution system, including FEMA. So when that happens, you're not talking to the U.S. government anymore. It's the WHO and the United Nations are in total control. And people don't guess this. So the reason why they want a pandemic is we're going to enter the New World Order with a mask on our face, not a gun to our head.
And our RFID chip in our hand, our forehead, to prove that we've been vaccinated and we're safe. And we can get food and fuel.
They're already doing this under Obamacare, and they're testing it on the vets, where if the vets haven't had the requisite number of meds and or vaccines, they're denied care. They're even told, well, come back in 6 months for your cancer. Come back in 6 months for your heart bypass or dialysis, even though they're in renal failure. So already this is being done today. We're not talking about something theoretical. Some people say, Dr. Deagle, you're such a conspiracy theorist. You're so negative. I don't want to hear you. I'm not a negative person. I'm actually a very significant optimist. In the face of disaster, I'm an optimist. When I worked in the burn unit in Georgia, or an emergency department in Augusta or near Chicago and Rockford or anywhere else I worked, you wanted somebody optimistic like me that could crack a good joke after I saved your life from dying. Because if you had a piece of plate glass stuck in your chest and I had to put a chest tube in and clamp off the arteries so you wouldn't bleed to death before you get to the operating room of the thoracic surgeon, or if you had 80% burns to your body and I'm getting the pig skin ready to put on you and I'm trying to prevent you from crashing and going to cardiogenic shock, you're real happy that somebody can put a central line and pump up your blood vessels so you don't go and turn to what we call a GORC, which is basically brain dead from hypoxia and a period of hypoperfusion of your brain to the point where we might restore a pulse, but there's no brain tissue left. So the fact is, you want somebody optimistic. You want somebody optimistic like me, and I treat the situation with the world is basically very similar to that 80% burn victim. We don't have $17 trillion in debt, by the way. What it is closer to $2 quadrillion in debt, which is equivalent to several times more than 300 Earths total GDP of the planet. It's not possible to ever pay the debt off. We talked about this on Wednesday.
So you just have to cancel it.
You have to cancel it. We now have been brewing for years with the government policy internationally to literally clamp down all the armies, all the medical services of every country if there's a swine avian flu pandemic, which is coming. I can't tell you when it'll be here, but believe me, it'll be here when they want to release it. And we already have now a SARS-like organism in Asia released. We have now a surge of deaths of H5N1 avian flu. And I can tell you right now, this one with the replicant gene count is the most deadly flu since 1968, the Asian flu. And I believe we'll be entering a new world order with a mask on, no matter how many laws they pass. If they start SWAT teaming veterans at 3 a.m. in the morning, kicking their doors down, those SWAT teams and those police officers will have the half-life of a ham sandwich thrown among Rottweilers. I mean, it really is ridiculous. And these politicians, if they really think that they want to start a civil war, it will only be a matter of days before the militia will take over every capital in the United States. And there's no army that's going to shoot on American citizens. And if they bring foreigners here, Chinese, Russians, or whatever, we will eat them up and spit their bones out so fast.
That have come down with this flu, and Dr. Deagle, you're one, and my brother is a third.
I have all my fancy nutraceuticals, thank God, because I can tell you this flu is one that'll slay you.
Well, my brother, I mean, you know my brother, and he is as
people that are very healthy, never going to
as anyone. And I may be a 62-year-old overweight white male, but I tell you what, you ought to see all the stuff I take, and I could kick myself in the butt for running out of your Nutridyne. But anyway, the point is, this thing hit me. It came on me one afternoon, and by that night, I had trouble breathing.
Well, and here's the problem.
I'm convinced
it's been hanging on for 2 months, by the way.
I'm convinced that what we're seeing is part of a either binary or trinary laydown of a multi-part advanced biological warfare attack on us.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the first phase.
Let's put it this way. Let's hypothesize that sometime, and I want you to hear your view on this, Paul. The government can't take over the population as we're armed with full stomachs. It's not possible. In fact, if they marched every army of every nation on earth to take over the American public, we would spit their bones out. There's just no way. On a territory as large as the United States, with as many Marines, as many ex-military and veterans, as many guns in this country, this idea that they're going to say, you get 90 days to turn your guns in, ha, ha, ha. I mean, as if I'm going to turn my guns in. I got them some store in Colorado. I won't even move to California. But there's no way I'm turning my guns in. There's just not going to happen. So people are non-compliant. What are they going to do? Are they going to go down to your door and kick your door down? It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's militarily impossible. I was talking to one of my favorite Marine Corps colonels about a year and a half ago. And I said, Colonel, I don't think they're afraid of our guns. He said, why is that? I said, it's impossible for them to fight us. He said, I think the best thing to do is just to lay us down. So what you were just talking about, and Tim and I talk a lot about off air, is a really good kick butt bioweapon, because I had the flu too, and I take a lot of stuff. And,
right. Well, if they get people really frightened, I'll give you a scenario. And I don't know, I'm not going to say dates, so don't anybody quote this, but let's say we have a bunch of things converging. In the fall is the nearest pass. There's 3 major comets passing. Any one of these 3 could literally knock out the power grid in the northern hemisphere. We have a bioweapons release that's now let's say, major wave of a new recombinant H3N2V, but now it has the avian flu genes, so it goes from a 2 or 3% lethality to a 30% or more. Now we're talking. Now we have the government literally declaring the World Health Organization and the United Nations is in control of everybody's military, everybody's healthcare system is now under UN control.
You're talking about a biblical event.
That's already passed in 2006. This is past stuff. This is even before Obama came into power. This is already done. This is not conspiracy theory. This is a fact. Back in a moment with your opinion. Paul Martin, Tim Alexander, stay there. Welcome back, and I want to get your opinion, Paul. You have your own show. What's it called, Paul?
Yeah, I just do guest spots now. I was on the radio for years. I had a show called The Revolution.
Right, okay. Now, let me throw this out, because people need to kind of wrap their mind around exactly what the globalists are doing. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. When I say that in 2006, all of the nations have signed over their rights to the World Health Organization of their military and their medical system, this is not a theory. You can go and become a Google genius and find it yourself, or go to Wikipedia. Now, here's the scenario. We're in the final phases of the currency war before Armageddon. Right now, with the current spending policies that, again, Obama announced on Tuesday, he is planning on blowing out the dollar. This is not just to destroy the middle class, which it will accomplish. This is to destroy other nations, to force them to accept our currency as a world currency standard. Now, a lot of people don't agree with me. They're just plain wrong, okay? And I'm going to explain why. I'm the only one who said this well over a decade and a half now, since the late 90s, that the mark of the beast will come from America. Not Brussels, not Moscow, not Jakarta, not Tokyo, not Brazil or Sao Paulo, Brazil. Is going to come from America. 90% of the world currency almost now is either in electronic ghost currency or in denominated dollars, American. Okay, there's many nations even use our currency as their currency, like Belize. But the fact is that many of these countries hold giant reserves of our currency, like the treasury notes the Chinese buy, to keep their currency artificially elevated so they can export their currency while they have slave labor in their country. What America is doing right now is a concerted policy to move to a virtual currency. Now, May of this year, the national biometric ID was supposed to be for all citizens. Now, if you're immigrating to America, you had to have a biometric facial scan, iris scan, and digital 10 fingerprints. That's anybody who's immigrating. That's been going on for years now. India will be finished, I think, the end of this year with biometric all of their people. It's happening
about
in
1 billion
China.
people.
Right. So here's what's going to happen. What they want to do, what Obama wants to do, is they're building a bipolar world where on one side you have America and its allies, Britain, etc., with financial control and advanced space-based and other weapons that are literally centuries ahead of anybody else. So if they don't agree to the plan, behind the scenes, China knows they're playing with pop guns. They've got a couple hundred nukes and maybe equivalent to Pakistan. But America has weapons that are literally centuries ahead of anybody else. And I remember being underground with a 4-star general at Schriever Air Force Base, Falcon, Colorado, and he said, we can take a nation like China and make them cease to exist without firing one bullet or one missile. They can use Tesla-based super interferometry technology, the super weapons, space-based weapons platforms, and our real space program is eons ahead of what anybody thinks. I laugh when I hear people say, well, when we go back to the moon. I said, we never stopped going back to the moon. We have a colony on Mars since the early 80s. We have the globalists have every intention to be in an off-world space platform if they're super ultra wealthy, or an underground hotel, and they're all ready. These are palatial facilities designed to last, if necessary, centuries underground, just like the Morlocks of H.G. Wells' Time Machine. This is not by chance that they have this plan. They know cataclysmic world events will happen, and they want to make sure that most of the population of Earth doesn't get told. They're not doing anything to harden the power grid. They're making certain that they release...
But doesn't the Bible address this?
Yeah, the Canberra virologist, who is one of the main developers of Relenza, the antiviral drug that's used against swine avian flu, he actually stated that the H1N1 flu in 2009 was a recombinant virus that was created in a lab. We know it came from a Baxter facility south of Mexico City. What's going on right now is this current flu, H3N2V, has the lethal genes of H1N1, has a receptor binding domain of H3N2, which means it's going to have all 5 receptor binding genes, has the most replicant gene count of any flu since 1968, but this is not the peak. When we see a flu that goes from, say, 2 or 3% mortality rate to 30%, this is a nation slayer. This is something that's going to stop trucks from delivering food, UPS, U.S. Postal Service, people going to school, people going to public places, people flying. Everything is going to stop like unbelievable. And people say, that won't happen. Yes, it will. They have a day when they want us to enter the New World Order with a mask on. And they want it also at a day when probably communications are going to go out because they have a pretty good idea which comet is likely to pass close enough to the sun to cause within 2.5 to 3 days a CME that'll knock out most communication satellites, except they'll think they have their own communication systems in operation. Most of these underground maglev tunnels have fiber optic cables that can transmit their signals underground that are completely shielded from coronal mass ejections. So The globalists are ready. The gun is loaded, and as much as people don't want to believe this,
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is February 18th, 2013. And here are your news updates for today. I'm attaching a Nutrimedical report from February 14th, and this is more the preparedness and health side of it. Alrighty then, here we go. The Extinction Protocol 2012 and beyond. 6.1 magnitude earthquake strikes Camaradic Islands. Alright, heads up. That's the only new one on that one. Today is President's Day. For those who don't know why the post office isn't running and the banks aren't going, happy President's Day to you all. Let's go to the watchers watching the world. New eruption at Barren Island Volcano, Indian Ocean region. NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory may have found galaxy's youngest black hole. Strong earthquake magnitude 6.1 struck New Zealand. Alrighty, that's all the new news. Let's see what's going on in the E&E news. Alrighty, Fukushima, Japan. Oh, and it's at enenews.com. There's the link. Alrighty then. Some of the YouTube channels that I did use, I'll put, like for Dr. Deagle, it's usually at the bottom of the description box. Alrighty then, so just paste and copy it in the search bar for YouTube, and then you can see that. You go into my description boxes. And that's sometimes where I can find stuff. Some stuff I have to actually generate myself and then upload it. And then it was found on YouTube because I'm the one who uploaded it onto YouTube. Alrighty then. Here we go. E&E News, Fukushima, Japan. Highest yet cesium levels in fish off Chiba coast exceed radiation limit for first time. 200 kilometers from Fukushima plant due east of Tokyo. And that's all we have for today. Let's look though and see what's going on with US-Canada. Usually there's more on the other one when one is short. Yep, here we go. Photos of massive plume from fireball still burning at port of Tampa. They're just added a third ladder. It's not getting put out. Officials, no health concerns right now. Port of Tampa. What is that? Okay, let's see what else is going on. Heads up in Tampa. TV. New high-level radioactive leak will reach Columbia River, says scientists. Fourth largest river in U.S. Also today, massive blaze near Port of Tampa. Explosive materials in vicinity. Witness says fireworks before blaze. After the fireworks ended, the fire began. NBC News, possible a new fault was opened up from BP disaster in Gulf, says oceanographer. Potential for an indefinite release of oil? Oh, prices should go way down then. Here you go. That's terribly ruined the environment, but if it's indefinite release of oil, that means prices should go way down, even below $1, don't you think? Alrighty then. Watch. Stage event, people reportedly given Costco gift cards to attend hearing on Santa Onofre nuke plant restart. There you go. Who's on that ethics committee over there? Wow. Doesn't look good, does it? And yesterday, strange days at U.S. nuclear plant. Individual lying on ground unconscious, pronounced dead. Possible human remains found soon after. Obviously, it's quite rare. Oh, that's weird. Alrighty then. Alrighty, so it's the holiday, but it's 1 day down. If there's any breaking news, I'm doing this early. I'll put it on, but for right now, we'll call it a day. It's 1 day down, 4 to go before the weekend. Hooray! And be safe and listen to the Dr. Deagle's show. And take care. I'll attach more videos if I see anything really good. Alrighty then. See you on the flip side tomorrow.